Might do it.
I'm over here doing this.
You got a chance to go in the new building yet?
You look cold, Sandy. Be all right, though.
Hoodies with pound hoodies. Yeah.
It's not cold out here.
Sandy, how are you? Bring back the home. I gotta play some little Boosie around.
Thank you all for being here today and walking in the snow. One of the things that I've started to do is each Martin Luther King Day, I take one or two phrases that Dr. King talked about, and I just consider those and contemplate those through the day. And today I've been thinking about some words that Dr. King said when he accepted the Nobel Peace Prize. And if you think about the challenges we've had in our nation, in our state, in terms of the economy and the challenges that creates for people in poverty, Dr. King said, "I have an abiding faith in America, an audacious faith in the future of mankind." Think about that. That kind of hope is something that we really need today. And then this morning at the readings, I was just struck by the reading that Professor Lucchesa Barnett did about the children who were murdered. And what Dr. King said on that day is he said, we need to replace caution with courage. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to bring forward Dr. Burcham, VP of Student Affairs, forward to have a few brief comments for us, please. Dr. Burcham.
You can bring up Dr. Kenn's too. Each year, Matt promises to have 70 degrees, balmy afternoon. I got to talk to you about that, Matt. We have a great spirit here, and it's very good to see all of you here. I think that Matt has me come up here because I have some historical background, because King and I were contemporaries. When I went to college, we were allowed to put posters on doors. I don't know if that's allowed anymore. I bet it's not, because probably it was dangerous. But every poster had either John Kennedy or it had Dr. King's quotations. Very much, I think you'll find that Martin Luther King will be the spokesperson for his day and age, and you already see that occurring. I always try to tell something a little bit personal about myself. Usually karma is slinking out about this time. But we were in Southern Illinois, and at a time when I was going through graduate school, we had a terrible time from a group that was called the White Hats. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but if you'd ever like to Google Cairo, Illinois. I say Cairo because that's what the people in Illinois call it. It is spelled just as you might expect, Cairo. And there was a group there that frankly was still fighting the Civil War into the 70s. As a matter of fact, I would argue that it's possible that that is one of the most difficult areas in the country even now. The reason I bring this up is I happened to see it in a speech, and this speech was by President Obama. And he went down there, and one of the things he said is it never gets further south than Southern Illinois. He confirms what I would believe is the case, and I just told you why that is the case. By the way, the people there have a different speech than most of us in northern Michigan would have. You can identify the people rather quickly. I walked out in orientation one day, there was a lady standing there, and I heard her talk, and I said, the only person I've ever heard that talk like that was from coal mining town. And she says, I work at George Peabody Coal Mining, as a matter of fact. And I bring that up because President Obama, when he went into the town, was greeted by 300 people, both white and black, and he had they all had medals on saying, we support Obama. I say that because it's probably the most difficult area in Illinois. He was pleased and surprised, and he won his candidacy as a senator there, and then carried that county and that town when he became president. I think what I'm saying here is you do see the changes, and they are good ones, and I think those changes are because of Martin Luther King. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bertram. Next, I'd like to bring forward our Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. David Pilgrim.
Well, Matt told me I only had 30 minutes. That's a joke. But anyway, we're in school, so let me give you a little lesson. This will be quick, if I can get it open. I want to tell you 10 things about Dr. King you might not know. As a matter of fact, if you do know him, raise your hand. Then I'm going to tell you one thing you ought to know. Number one, when he was born, his name was not Martin Luther King, it was what? Michael, and they made a mistake in the hospital, and it wasn't until he was probably 5 years old that his name was changed to the name that his parents meant for it to be. How many of you knew that? That's very good. Number two, in 1939, he was singing in a church choir, and they performed in the opening of Gone with the Wind. And I tell you what, I wish my brother Dr. King was still alive. He'd be 82 years old today, but I would ask him what it was like to sing before the opening of that story, which for those of you that come to the Jim Crow Museum know we use it because it has so many racist caricatures in it. Number three, he skipped the 9th and 12th grades, and he entered Morehouse, and he was 15 years old. How many of you knew that? That's good. Well, I'll sit down because you know everything. Number four, he had a bachelor's degree in sociology, and he received a PhD, well, of course he did, and he received a PhD from Boston University in theology. Number five, from 1957 until his death in 1968, he traveled more than 6 million miles. And unless my math skills are bad, that's basically going to the moon 12 times and back, and then going up there again. And he gave over 2,500 speeches. Number six, in 1964, at the age of 35, he became the youngest person to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Number seven, in 1992, there was a Gallup poll, and he was selected the number 2 most admired person in the 20th century. Anybody know who number 1 was? Kennedy? No, wasn't Kennedy. Try again. I'm gonna stay here all day until you get it right. What was it? Mother Teresa. It's okay to come in second to Mother Teresa, isn't it? All right. Number 8, as of this date, Dr. King is the only American, excluding U.S. presidents, to be honored with a federal holiday. And I was going to say something about Arizona, but I won't. Number 9, most people would assume that because Dr. King was black and fought for the rights of the underprivileged, that he would naturally be a Democrat, but instead he was a what? Say it. Hard to get out. And then number 10, presently there are over 700 U.S. cities that have a street named after Dr. King. Those are 10 little known facts about Dr. King that you may or may not have known. Now I'm going to tell you something that you should know about him. That man worked every day of his life trying to make the world better for other folks. And when he died in Memphis, Tennessee, trying to improve the lot of garbage collectors, sanitation workers. And what that is, that's a challenge to each one of us. Every one of us can do something to help somebody. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Pilgrim. I'm going to bring Michael Wade up in just 2 seconds to announce the rest of the activities that we have for MLK. But first, I'd like to thank our Provost and VP for Academic Affairs, Dr. Erickson, for being here. Also, Don Flickenchair, my boss in the back there, way in the back, Dr. Cairns, and our chair of the board, Trustee Sneed, Ron Sneed. And I want to thank all the students, the faculty and staff. I know I'm going to leave someone out, but I wanted to identify a few key folks, but all of you are key in our MLK celebration, and that's very, very important. And I want to thank this lady right here, and I don't know your name, ma'am, but she comes out each and every year from the community and supports us in our MLK celebration. I want to thank you so very much for supporting us. Mr. Wade.
Before I speak, I definitely, we are in the presence of greatness, and Ferris is one of those colleges that hones its own. And our chairman of the board, Trustee Sneed, was the first African American student government president. Was very active here on campus. Is a prominent member of our fraternity, Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So I want to give him an opportunity to just say a few words if he would like to. Let's give a round of applause to Trustee Sneed.
Thank you, Michael. I'll make it quick. I was on campus as a student in 1968 when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. The rec center now was the basketball center back then, but it gives me such great hope for the future to see so many of you out here today. So many people your age don't really understand what Dr. Martin Luther King stood for and the price that he paid. But when I see a turnout like this and weather like this, you give me hope for the future. Thank you so much.